Tiwai, a river island in the midst of dense African rainforest. If Eden were an island, it could very well have looked like this. Lush tropical jungle, teeming with life. Up until a few years ago, few people had even heard of Tiwai, let alone cared about it. But in the early 1980s, an international team of scientists and researchers identified Tiwai as a scientific gold mine. There are 3,000 monkeys here and more species of primate than any other single place in the world. But Tiwai has now become too valuable for its own good. The monkeys that have been a blessing to this island may now be its curse.
Nature is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by viewers like you.
The jungles of West Africa, deep, dark, mysterious, and full of life. On an island called Tiwai, there's an unusual jungle, a world of primates. The masters of this forest are our closest relatives. Tiwai Island is located in Sierra Leone in tropical West Africa. It's a tiny country, the size of South Carolina. It lies in the middle of the Moa River, which flows through the southeast corner of the country near the Liberian border. Tiwai was once known as Slave Island. It was populated and farmed by slaves of the local people. Slavery was abolished in 1926. Now there are few farms and no people living on the island. This human history helped make Tiwai what it is today. There is new rainforest, patches of older rainforest, and farmland. This great variety of vegetation makes possible an enormous diversity of wildlife, especially primates. Tiwai has one of the highest densities of primates in the world, 3,000 monkeys and apes on an island of only 4.5 square miles. There are 11 different species. This is a Campbell's monkey. It ranges throughout this vertical habitat. The Diana monkey lives in the upper canopy and rarely descends to the ground. It's a very curious and a very colorful monkey. Most species, like this spot-nosed monkey, eat a wide variety of food, a healthy combination of leaves, flowers, insects, and especially fruit. But competition is kept at a minimum because no two diets or feeding methods are exactly the same. In 1987, Tiwai became the first wildlife sanctuary in Sierra Leone. though it is still under the jurisdiction of local chiefs from the Mende tribe. The local Mende have little to do with Tiwai or any forest because they are mainly farmers. Yet they do use a small patch of forest near their village for important ceremonies. At puberty, a girl goes into a period of seclusion in the bush. When she emerges, she takes a new name and dances to celebrate her entry into womanhood. The birds of Tiwai have a wide variety of food to choose from. The lizard buzzard's main food is lizards, but it will also eat insects, rodents, and snakes. The chimpanzees are Tiwai's rarest treasure. It's well known that chimps use tools, but only the West African subspecies uses a stone and a tree root as an anvil to crack nuts. Young chimps begin begging for nuts at an early age. Their mothers then teach them how to crack the shells. This is an example of culture in animals, since this skill is passed from generation to generation. Nut cracking isn't as simple as it looks. Choosing the right size and shape of stone is critical, as is positioning the nut at the correct angle. Mastering the art can take up to 6 years. Tiwai's chimps have developed their tool-using skills even further. By holding a stick in their teeth, they can dig out the pieces of nut which their nails can't reach. Chimpanzees are seriously endangered throughout Africa. Tiwai's population is one of the last wild groups left. At midday, the forest, usually so noisy, is silenced by the heat. It's siesta time. At the height of the dry season, temperatures can reach 104 degrees. This white-headed plover is taking a quick trip to the Moa River. She moves cautiously to avoid attracting predators. Special feathers on her breast soak up the cool water, but she doesn't stay long. She brings the moa's coolness back to her nest to lower the dangerously high temperature of her egg. For the spot-necked otter, staying cool at midday is no problem because they rarely leave the water. Males come onto the riverbanks to mark their territorial boundaries. Otters have an acute sense of hearing, but underwater, the ears are closed, and they rely on sight. They're clumsy on land, but in the moa, they are agile and graceful. Even an otter can get a fish bone stuck in its throat. The Mende also rely on the fish of the moa for protein. But near the end of the dry season, they become interested in something underneath the moa instead. The villagers dam a section of the river to dig for diamonds, buried about 20 feet below the surface. It takes several days and the cooperative effort of the entire community to reach the buried treasure. The local chief will get his share first. Then it's a free-for-all. This kind of mining has been going on for decades all along the upper reaches of the Moa. Larger mining operations can be environmentally damaging to the river, but these small-scale miners probably do little harm. Sierra Leone is one of the poorest countries in the world. It also has some of the most valuable diamonds, and mining helps the local economy. Even some conservationists have proposed allowing diamond mining on Tiwai as part of a long-term plan to balance the needs of wildlife and the local people. Every year, nature calls a halt to this enterprise. The rainy season starts in April. Within weeks, the mighty moa rises 15 feet, putting an end to diamond mining for another year. Fungi are decomposers, vital recyclers of forest nutrients. If they don't complete the job, the termites will. The amount of wood removed by each insect is minute, but termites live in huge colonies, so it's the team effort that counts. On Tiwai, the termite population has exploded. Their numbers defy the imagination. Most of the termites are workers, but some are soldiers with a protective role to play. In response to the footsteps of the approaching pangolin, they send an alarm by drumming their heads on the ground. The termites cannot hear the sound of their predator, they feel it. It's the vibrations that warn them of danger. Within minutes, the entire foraging party will retreat to the underground nest. Though pangolins will eat termites, this one is after black tree ants and the canopy. The pangolin looks reptilian, but it's actually a mammal. A relative of the anteater, it is well designed to devour ants and termites. It has no teeth, but it produces an enormous amount of sticky saliva which glues its prey to its long tongue. Powerful front limbs and claws rip open the cement-hard nest to expose the defenseless larvae and pupae within. Some of them fall to the forest floor, and the workers try to rescue as many as they can. They pick up the helpless, undeveloped ants and one by one carry them back home, 150 feet above the forest floor. The workers at the nest swarm out in defense. Even its impressive suit of armor is no protection against hundreds of thousands of biting ants, and eventually they drive the pangolin away. Primates have a much more varied diet than the specialized pangolin, but for most of them, fruit is the staple food and the major source of energy. Diana monkeys are especially fond of the fruit of this particular liana, a woody vine which festoons the forest trees. Primates have excellent color vision, and this helps them to select ripe fruits. Fruit contains very little protein, and this monkey, like almost all monkeys and apes, will have to supplement its diet with insects. Monkeys are very important seed dispersers, and in addition, the fruit they discard seldom goes to waste. The shy and secretive water chevrotain feeds mainly on fallen fruit and aquatic plants. Its stripes and spots provide excellent camouflage, mimicking the dappling of light and shade on the forest floor. Chevrotains are small ruminants, hence the name mouse deer. They could also be called living fossils. They've remained virtually unchanged for 30 million years. The chevrotain is not the quarry for this man. Monkeys are hunted in Sierra Leone, but usually not for local consumption. In neighboring Liberia, however, monkey meat is regarded as a delicacy. The Liberians decimated the monkey populations in their own country, and then they began hunting in Sierra Leone. Eventually, they were forbidden to hunt here, so they merely hired local people like this man and supplied them with guns and ammunition. To preserve the meat, it is smoked and dried. Monkey hunting is big business in Sierra Leone. Bushmeat can be bought at the colorful local markets and at the sides of main roads. Most people in Sierra Leone do not eat monkey meat, but the younger generation will break with tradition. However, most monkeys from Sierra Leone are destined for the Liberian pot. Today's civil war in Liberia has curtailed the monkey trade across the borders, but thousands of Liberian refugees have settled in Sierra Leone. Who knows what this unstable situation will mean for the monkeys? All over Africa, monkeys are threatened by habitat loss, and in Sierra Leone by hunters in search of monkey meat. In most countries, their only hope lies in the protection offered in wildlife parks and sanctuaries like Tiwai. Colobus monkeys have to spend a lot of time eating and digesting. They're mainly leaf eaters, but leaves are not very nutritious, so they have to eat large quantities. Their stomachs are huge to accommodate the enormous bulk they consume. Leaves in the rainforest often have high concentrations of toxins. Though colobus monkeys can detoxify some of these, they often select other sources of food. This black and white colobus rips open a tough seed pod to get at the protein-packed kernels inside. The chimp's diet is incredibly diverse. Their intelligence allows them to exploit a wide range of resources. But most of all, they love fruit. Unlike most of the primates of Tiwai, chimps are at home in the trees or on the ground. This chimp has discovered a mango tree on an abandoned farm. He uses his hands and mouth to cart off all the goodies he can manage. Evidence that a chimp has passed by lies strewn all over the ground. The discarded fruit becomes more than a full meal for some of the smaller inhabitants of the forest. And these, in turn, become food for others. The common chameleon is adapted to life in the trees. Even though it can change color to match its surroundings, it's awkward and uncomfortable on the ground. It soon returns to the canopy. Its toes have been fused into tongs, enabling it to get a better grip on the skyscrapers of the rainforest. The residents of Tiwai are relatively secure in their protected home. But in other areas of Sierra Leone, as is true all over the world, rainforests are being felled for timber and turned into farmland. Across the river from Tiwai, the banks are on fire. In the past, slash-and-burn agriculture was no threat to the forest, since human populations were small. As the country's population grew, so did the demand for land and timber, and now the forest has no time to recover. Slash-and-burn agriculture combined with commercial logging has resulted in the loss of most of Sierra Leone's rainforests and wildlife. Forest reserves have been set aside, but logging is allowed in them. The Gola Forest Reserve, adjacent to Tiwai, is the last major expanse of lowland rainforest in the country. Conservationists and local communities are now working on a plan to save this great rainforest, as well as those on Tiwai and neighboring river islands. The aim is to combine sustained use of natural resources with the preservation of biological treasures, to strike a balance between conservation and use of the rainforest. Under the plan, local people would use the rainforest as a natural resource bank for small-scale exploitation of wood, food, and farmland. They would be employed in conservation efforts, such as ecotourism and research. In the rainforest of Tiwai, there is an intricate web of life, involving tens of thousands of species, each living thing tied to a multitude of others. The creatures of the forest help to build the forest itself. Straw-colored fruit bats are among the most important seed dispersers in the rainforest. They are highly social mammals. 1 million have been found packed together in the same colony. Fruit bats are fruit-eating machines. They have sharp teeth to cut open the skin and have no trouble eating upside down. These bats belong to a group nicknamed flying foxes. Bats are promiscuous. While roosting, males fly from female to female, testing their receptivity for mating. Copulation can be an awkward and sometimes a lengthy process. It can last for hours. Female straw-colored fruit bats have what is called delayed implantation. The fertilized egg is not implanted in the uterus immediately, but is stored by the female for 3 months. This results in perfect timing for the birth of the young. They'll be born at the beginning of the wet season, when fruit is most abundant. Fruit-eating bats hang out in exposed canopies, a design they create themselves by stripping away the leaves for a better lookout. Bats have voracious appetites, and every night there's a hungry fruit-feeding frenzy. This colony waits for darkness. "25 years ago, there were about 25,000 chimps in Sierra Leone. Today, there are probably fewer than 2,000. This drastic decline was due to the intense, unregulated exportation of animals for research and the pet trade. For every captive infant to reach its final destination, as many as 10 chimps died in the process. Since 1980, international trade has been closely monitored, and the chimp population in Sierra Leone has been given a chance to stabilize. Despite strict controls on international trade, the demand for chimps is still great. West Africa's beaches are becoming more and more popular with Westerners who may want to take a little of the exotic home with them. Young chimps are bought and sold as pets, and there's a great demand for their use in medical research. Chimps share 99.8% of our genes, but they also share our intelligence and our need for affection and mental stimulation. That is why it is so difficult to tolerate their use in medical experiments, and why the practice is extremely controversial. Scientists point out, however, that without their use, there would be no polio or hepatitis vaccines, and now they are needed for AIDS research. But the least we can do is to ensure their humane treatment. As darkness falls, Tiwai Island becomes the stage for the creatures of the night. The Mende believe that the spirits of witches are harbored in the owl, or witchbird. Feeding almost exclusively on fish, the Pell's fishing owl hunts from one of several favorite perches in its territory. Large feet with spiny bottoms and long, powerful claws enable the owl to capture and hang on to its slippery prey. While most of Tiwai's primates are asleep, one is only now beginning to awaken. This is a pato, nocturnal and incredibly slow, making it extremely difficult to be spotted by predators. Patos, like lemurs and bush babies, are prosimians, a line of primates that diverged from monkeys and apes millions of years ago. Most of the pato's diet is immobile, fruits, gums, and fungi. Nighttime for the pato is spent completely alone. Unlike most other primates, it leads a solitary life in the treetops of Tiwai. Fruit bats are now feeding as well. Their preferences are very similar to our own. They seem to relish sweet, aromatic, and juicy fruits. Patos can catch some insects and slow-moving prey. An animal as fast as a bat is an impossibility. But if the timing is right, a lizard is not out of the question. Palm civets, relatives of the mongoose, also come out only at night. They're solitary, except when the females are in heat. The male will follow the female for days until she's ready for mating. The long-tailed tree pangolin uses its prehensile tail for climbing and for transporting its youngster through the canopy. This baby pangolin will spend the first few months of its life riding on its mother's tail. One 100 feet below, a brush-tailed porcupine dines on fallen fruit. The quills are hairs which have evolved into spikes for protection. They're not sharp enough to deter all predators, and at the first sign of danger, the porcupine retreats, rattling its tail in alarm. Another civet, the African civet, hunts in the dense undergrowth, keeping its nose to the ground to sniff out its prey. Civets have an acute sense of smell, which is important in hunting as well as communication. Special glands secrete a liquid used to attract mates and mark territories. It has a powerful smell and has been used in perfume since biblical times. It delivers a death shake to break the back of its prey. The smell of the dead animal often stimulates the civet to mark its prey before eating it. Tiwai is an island of apes, monkeys, chameleons, chevretains, patos, civets, and tens of thousands of other species. It is surrounded by water, but like most wildlife areas today, it is also surrounded by people. The plan to make Tiwai part of a larger conservation area could be an important model for Africa because it incorporates the needs of the wildlife and the local people. The involvement and support of local people is essential and the only way conservation efforts will succeed in West Africa or anywhere else.
Nature is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by viewers like you.